that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars.
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
The wild moments and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game. And away we go for episode number 16 of Minor League Weekly on the Minor League Minute YouTube channel. We are Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you can't catch us in a live capacity, and speaking of that, apologies if you're waiting for us on YouTube. I have recently moved to the East Coast and thought that technology would be on my side. Instead, if you saw that the stream was scheduled for like an hour from now, that's why. That won't happen again. So yeah, we are live. Typically 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights. Otherwise, you can catch us and various clips of us across our various social media platforms, all of which are linked below. I'm Cory Sparks here in Pennsylvania. We have Sam Strash back in Wisconsin. Sam, before we dive into all things
Illinois.
Griffin. Oh, Illinois. You are in Illinois, just south of the state line.
Maybe a 15-minute jog.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm right there.
My bad. Midwest, but Illinois. Before we dive into, we got a packed show for you guys today. Konnor Griffin, was this the right decision? What was the rationale behind what the Pirates did? Spring breakout, standouts, risers, fallers, fair or foul, NCAA tournament edition. We're going to make a little proposal with what the road to Omaha could look like. Before any of that, Sam, you have been juggling. You're always juggling a lot. You know, you're juggling multiple jobs. You've got a relationship going on. You moved there not long ago as well. Now you've got a puppy that you've essentially been training from the ground up. How has that been going? And thank you for dedicating time, because I know you don't have a whole lot of it right now.
Yeah, so I'm a man of many hats. I think we've all kind of figured that out by now. But the puppy's doing good. His name's Hoagie. He's a corgi. I would show him right now, but he's learned that as soon as he exits the crate, it's time to go potty. So I would bring him out, but it's just not feasible right now. He's a good boy, though. 10 weeks old. He's already learned sit really well. Lay down is really coming along. When I say come, he only follows me if he wants to. Otherwise, if there's sticks in the yard, he's chasing after those, or leaves blowing in the wind. He likes those too. But yeah, I mean, it's been tough, trying to juggle everything, but we're figuring it out. We're slowly but surely figuring it out. For Mariners fans, I am sorry that your farm feature's not out yet. It will be out. The graphics are almost done. I just had to piece them together on Premiere and then shoot it Cory's way. He's going to throw the ad read over it, and then it's going to be posted. So it's coming up very soon. It's going to be up before opening day. I can promise you that. My apologies in that regard. But then we're going to also be working on some post-production for our little excursion to Joliet for that Frontier League game at the Slammer. The Big House Ball game is what they're calling it, at the Joliet State Prison. So we got a lot of exciting content for that coming up. Maybe some short-form stuff in the future as well. So we got a lot on our plates here for Minor League Minute as well.
Yeah, Sam's taken on a ton of work with post-production, especially for the Big House Ball game over in Joliet, Illinois. Not too far from you, like an hour-ish away, right? Something like that.
A little more than that. About if we're not hitting traffic in Chicago, which Chicago, I don't care what people say about New York. Chicago is the worst traffic in America. If we're not considering traffic, it's about an hour 40-ish. If it was straight line, it'd be about an hour 15. But you gotta, curve your way. I gotta go around Rockford and then go around Elgin and 355 tolls, all that jazz. So
yeah, fair enough. Well, Sam's doing a ton of great work on that. We're saving the best for last with the Mariners farm feature. They've got a lot of good things cooking up there. So that conversation still holds very, very true to this point. And yet, speaking of opening day, that is coming up really soon. The last round of spring training games has been going on today, and I really enjoyed the tradition of everybody just swinging on the first pitch because they're trying to get out quick and trying to get out healthy. I'm here in Philliesville right now, and it was 3 or 4 years ago they had the Mickey Moniak disaster where he had a really good spring training. It looked like the former number 1 overall pick was going to break camp and be a starter in the outfield finally, and he broke his hand. So Every team at this point is trying to avoid that. They just want to get out healthy. They want to get to opening day. Someone who's not going to get to opening day, at least in a major league capacity in 2026, is Konnor Griffin. I've tried my hardest to not abuse the name on this channel, but it's really tough when you have so many eyes and ears dedicated to the number one prospect in baseball who could have been the first teenager to crack an opening day roster since Ken Griffey Jr., a different Griff. Konnor Griffin's going to start the year out in AAA Indianapolis. Sam, I'll give you the floor first. Did the Pirates do the right thing here?
Fortunately, the answer is yes. This was the right move, and I know you have a lot of reasons here as for why this was the right move, but just to, get the ball rolling, they don't have the greatest payroll situation in the world. But what they did by putting Konnor Griffin back in the minor leagues is that they're going to give him an extra year of team control, okay? Not the greatest news for the player, but it's a great thing if you're a Pittsburgh Pirates fan that if they keep him down in the minor leagues for about how many days are in the league season, 190-ish? They keep him down for about 20 league season days, they get a 7th year of control. So, barring he wins any kind of postseason award or after season award, right? So if he wins the Rookie of the Year, I think they lose that year of control. But they get that extra year of control, and it's going to benefit them very much from a payroll perspective because that extra year is a renewable year. It's not an arbitration year, so they don't have to owe him any extra money. It's a renewable year. They can renew him at the league minimum for a 40-man roster player, which now I think is in the realm of $800,000 to $850,000. But what if it wasn't the right move? Right? There's a side to both of these, or to this whole situation. There's a side, and neither side is wrong. Right? It was the right move to do it, and it was also the wrong move because his stats did fall off after that multi-homer game. He was hitting below 180. He was hitting below the Mendoza line by a long shot. But when he watches at-bats and you see his physicals, they're there. The physicals are all there. He's got a sweet swing. He's a very muscular build, very tall guy. So he's everything you want in a potentially franchise shortstop. Not to mention when he's out in the field, he doesn't really appear to be stressed or anxious with the glove at all. So he hasn't seen AAA yet, which is why I think Pittsburgh bumped him down, and it makes sense. But after a strong start, not a strong finish, but a strong start to his spring, do we think that might play a role in maybe killing some confidence, for lack of a better term? Because I imagine the Pirates have a plan in place for him, but is he really that much worse off to start at shortstop than Nick York or Jared Triolo? I mean, like, is it really that much worse? Like, I think to get butts in seats, you should start the kid.
Yeah, so that's the key, right? I'll shore up a couple details. You hit the nail right on the head, right? It's 187 days during the regular season. 172 of those 187, that's the minimum for a year of service time, right? That 6-year clock starts, or that 3-year clock before arbitration kicks in. So teams will fudge the rule, and they'll play their Konnor Griffins for 171 days. And Pirates fans, don't be shocked if you see KG in literally 3 weeks or 4 weeks, however that ends up mathing out. To your point, Sam, like, they don't have a ton of payroll, but you know how you bring in more money and all of a sudden start to bolster your budget? I don't know the ins and outs of what Nutting is doing over there, but I know you'll get more money if KG's there from day one. You're 100%. Already going to sell out on opening day, but you know what else you're going to get? You're going to get those merch sales all of a sudden. You're going to get people trying to make sure that they get their hands on the first model of the Konnor Griffin jersey in a major league capacity. And all of a sudden, everyone is going to try very early in the season to go and watch this kid play. When, let's be honest, PNC is a beautiful place. Pirates fans usually don't have a whole lot of incentive based on the performances that we've seen on the field lately to be wire to wire in the seats. You're not seeing a whole lot of those 20-game ticket packages go because of the performance on the field. That can change if you make moves for bats, which they have, and bring up maybe one of your best bats in Konnor Griffin. I'm curious to see what happens with the whole CBA thing about, 9 months from now after this season, when that expires.
December.
Yeah, so maybe if they raise the floor. But I thought he was going to debut, not only because I think he's ready, I thought the Pirates were going to do what the Brewers did with Churio and what the Braves did with Acuna and what the Red Sox just did not too long ago with Roman Anthony. Just extend him. Arbitration ceases to exist the moment you slap an extension on him. And to your point, Sam, you brought up his stats in the minors in low A, high A, and double A before. What more does the kid have to prove? I think I've seen like 8 years, 100 million. I'm taking that right now if that's a true value.
Of course. Well, there's still a sizable jump though between Double A and Triple A. We can't forget about that too. When you're facing Triple A pitching, you're not just facing some of the better prospects in the game. You're facing big league guys that are on rehab assignments. You're facing big league guys that just don't fit on a roster at the moment. They're waiting to get an opportunity with possibly a new team or waiting for an injury to get their opportunity. And you're facing former big league guys that either A, are trying to rekindle that fire, or B, are guys that went overseas, retooled their game, and now they're back and trying to prove more. So the pitching jump is huge between Double A and Triple A. Maybe not the batting jump as much. You're going to have, similar guys on either side of the plate. But the guys you had to go up against, if this is making sense to you, if you're picking up what I'm putting down here, the guys you got to go up against between Double A and Triple A is arguably a bigger jump than from AAA to the bigs. And the bigs, I mean, you got your top of the line guys, you got your Cy Young Award winners, but again, from AA to AAA, you're facing in AA guys with almost no major league experience or maybe even no AAA experience at all, to facing dudes who were there for the most part and want to get back there. And they're going to shove 95 down your throat to get back there. And now you have to deal with it.
Yeah, and this guy doesn't throw 95, but like Rich Hill, he's always hanging around in AAA. Let it be 95 down your throat, or let it be a real methodical, cerebral pitcher who can just pick you apart. To your point, Sam, even if it's not the show, you're playing a heck of a lot more guys who have been to the show. The only guys who are going to be in AA that have been in the show before have either severely fallen off or it's a rehab stint, and they're there for the weekend, right? So, you brought up the word confidence. There is also a scenario where if they decided, all right, KG, you're skipping AAA, and he hits like $175 in April, then he has to go down to AAA, and then the confidence is destroyed. So you could play both sides of the coin there.
You can for sure. And confidence too. I mean, bumping him down right away to start the season too is a little bit of a confidence killer. I mean, I brought up that question in. Yeah, he had a rough end to the spring season, but he showed you early on that he's ready to roll. Why not try and trust him? Put your trust in this guy going forward. You don't even have to start him opening day. Get him on the roster and get him an at-bat opening day. Maybe a defensive substitution in the 8th or 9th, depending on which way the game's going. That's how you get him in, and you're still going to get butts and seats because they want to see the number one prospect in all of baseball go out and play for the Pirates. At a beautiful ballpark, too, no less. That's how you're going to start generating revenue. That's how you're going to start getting butts and seats. And that's how you're going to build the kid's confidence, is just little by little, get him some opportunities and get him a start next week.
Yeah, and I've used Cam Smith as like the case study here. The Astros decided he didn't need AAA after they got him in the Kyle Tucker deal from the Cubs. He just skipped AAA. He went from AA Knoxville to the majors, to starting, to making the opening day roster for the Astros. I will say, though, there's a few differences between the Astros farm system, who have struggled to keep a top 100 overall prospect in there, and the Pirates. And I want to go back to, I think it was the Angels farm feature. That sounds about right, where we kept asking ourselves, how does this team, right, that has Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout for about half a decade, not have a winning season in the last decade now? They're still looking for it. And I think part of the reason they're stuck in this middling purgatory-like window is they rush guys. Whereas the Pirates continuously, I mean, they're churning and burning. Garrett Cole is going to be one of the best pitchers ever when he hangs it up. And he went through that pipeline. And we could name a half a dozen other guys. So it's tough for me to...
Glass now.
Right.
Yeah, it's one. Austin Meadows is another guy. Granted, he had a very quick fizzle out to his career with Detroit, but Austin Meadows was another guy. You got to keep going back, too, to a few other guys. Joel Hanrahan, at one point, he was a guy who came up through the Pirates system. He was a pretty solid closer, all-star, ended up getting a big payday with the Red Sox. So they do churn and burn these guys, But yeah, like you said, the Angels, Nolan Schanuel, 40 calendar days between getting drafted and coming to the show.
Just scary.
Ryan Johnson, I think his name is, right-handed pitcher. He didn't even pitch a single pitch past Double-A. He spent half a season in the minor leagues in rookie ball and low A and went straight to the bigs. And he hasn't been all that great. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows with Ryan Johnson. There's been spots, but it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. So, I mean, the moral of the story here is that you can never have enough experience in the minor leagues before you debut. And that's the conundrum is going to continue with Jesus Mate with the Brewers. Another Brewers prospect, Andrew Fisher, has been tearing the cover off the ball this
People
spring.
want him up now.
In the 350s.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I want him up now too. But the fact of the matter is that Andrew Fisher's never played past Double-A.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he be up now? You can never have too much time in the minor leagues, especially when you're 19, 20 years old. You can never have too much time there. So Konnor Griffin, take your time. This is a guy that if you're the Pirates, you don't want to mess this up. Take your time. Let the guy develop. Let him get acclimated to AAA. If he starts torching the baseball, give him the shot.
And he doesn't strike me as someone who gets rattled either. Like when he got the news, I'm sure you'd have to look far and wide to find someone who visually reacts and goes, dang it, I was hoping to make it. These guys are professionals. But like he's been saying something along the lines of like, God's got me. He's a real religious person. It seems like his whole family is. But even on the topic of not getting rattled, he fielded a ball over at shortstop during the dreaded mid-game interview in a recent spring training game. You know what I'm talking about. And he was cool as a cucumber. Mm-hmm. You know how many of those we've seen in the last 2 years where the player botches what would be an otherwise routine play, and then the whole comment section's just stop doing these, stop doing these. You're in his ear, and the ball is coming his way at 95 miles an hour, and he handled it like a pro at 19. So I don't think he gets rattled. I don't think he cares that he's in AAA, but that's just me editorializing.
That's what I was pointing to. That's what I was pointing to, too, is that this guy, who he does not appear to be stressed when he's on the field, batting or in the field, doesn't appear to be anxious at all. He's not trigger happy. He's calm. He's got a slow heartbeat. I mean, this is a guy, like I said, you can't mess this up if you're Pittsburgh. Let him get some time in the minor leagues, even if it is just for service time manipulation. Even if that's all this is in the grand scheme of things. Do it. Mm-hmm. You can never have too much time spent in the minor leagues. Let him develop. Let him flourish down there. He is only 19. He is only 19 years old. He's got to see it. He's got to show you something first before you bring him up. And again, I personally think he should have been up right away. But logically speaking, this is the right move, honestly, in my eyes. I think I've kind of talked myself into this more and more as we've gone throughout this this topic right here.
Do they extend him before April's end? Like I'm hearing there's a contract on the table from a few different beat reporters. Do you think they get it done? Does KG decide to bet on himself like some players have and said, let's give it a year?
On himself.
Yeah, let's give it a year. Then we'll see what I'm worth.
On himself.
Yeah.
And because he doesn't want to sign immediately, at least in my mind, if I'm Konnor Griffin, I don't want to sign immediately. It's a good surefire, okay, I'm guaranteed $100 million now. Over 9 years, that's one thing. But if he gets called up, he can get possibly, I don't know, $350, $400 million over 9 years in 7 seasons instead of waiting to get that for 9 seasons. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a situation where he knows he's shot up the rankings meteorically the last season and a half. I think he's got to take a chance on himself. And I don't think it's a disrespecting to Pittsburgh, who's trying to, get him at a bargain and be able to compete for multiple years. And they still can. They'll just have a shorter time frame. But I think it's more so what's going to benefit Konnor Griffin 7 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it. Konnor Griffin is thinking at this point, if there is an extension out there that's being offered to him, which multiple reports are saying, he's thinking, I would love to make that number instead of $100 million over 8-9 years, $200 million, $300 million, and I believe I have the talent to do so. If he is negotiating, Pittsburgh's going, we would love to keep you here, and we know we can, and we know we can throw arbitration out the window if we nail you down in an extension right now. And Konnor, if you get the cost that you're actually looking for, if you actually get paid what you want, it's not going to be with us. It'll be with the Dodgers or the Yankees. Yeah. That's the ugly reality of this.
To wrap it up, yeah, I mean, that's it. it's avoiding the Tarek Skubal situation.
Yep. Yeah.
If he signs that. There's no fight. There's no going to court over $13 million in one season, which is nuts for an arbitration case. But there's no fighting. There's no squabbling back and forth at each other. It's pen to paper. This is what you're going to pay me for 9 seasons, regardless of how I perform. He could Evan White. He could be Evan White in the grand scheme of things, signed for $56 million over 4 years and be out of Major League Baseball like 2 seasons in. Like, that could happen. So I almost would rather, if I'm Konnor Griffin, sign that deal, but I understand he's going to bet on himself. And he's going to say, I think I can benefit myself more in 7 years than I can in 9 years.
Yeah, and I think he should bet on himself. We'll see what happens. I'm predicting right now we see him on April 21st. That's what I'm going to put down in paper.
Agreed.
So, we'll see. We'll see
Agreed.
how long this stay in Indianapolis is. Indy fans, enjoy him while you have him. It literally might be for like 2 homestands. So we'll see where that goes. All right, spring breakout. Konnor Griffin, among a lot of other top prospects. They're the reasons that this exists. You get the Rising Stars showcase around the All-Star break or during the All-Star break. Beginning of the season, this started a couple of years ago. Teams are taking essentially a large proportion of their top 30s, and they just go at it. And that was this last week for a couple of days. I'm going to go for my spring breakout standout. That's going to be this segment here. Seth Hernandez. Not only because of what he did, but because of the reaction he got out of Max Clark. First pitch of the spring breakout contest against, by the way, the farm systems that currently hold prospect number 1, Konnor Griffin, and prospect number 2, Kevin McGonigal, who've both had pretty good springs to this point. Seth Hernandez goes in there and says, hey, pay attention to me. 102, rising above the zone at Max Clark, a fellow top 10 prospect in baseball. And Max Clark looks right at him and goes, what the bleep? on TV. That was awesome. So, yeah.
It's not often that you get a reaction out of not only just another player, but another player of that stature in Max Clark. Max Clark's one of the best prospects in the game, too. And you get that reaction of, what the fridge? I mean, that's ridiculous. You're getting a guy like Max Clark to look at you and say, you had that in the tank?
Mm-hmm.
You seriously had that? I think Seth Hernandez has a bright future with Pittsburgh if he continues to progress like this. He's going to be a guy that I could see, especially with a 102 fastball in the tank. I could see him being mid to late relief role for them, maybe even a closing role for them down the line if they want to convert him to that. Or, I mean, he might already be that. I'm not too in tune with Seth Hernandez ball quite yet, but I know at least in the minor leagues, you kind of test everything. Even if you are just a relief specialist, you're going to get a start here and there. But I could see Seth Hernandez being a guy that's, back end of the bullpen type arm going forward for Pittsburgh.
He's a live arm, man. That's what there is to know about him at this point. There is a real scenario in like 2 to 3 years, maybe not even, that numerous Pirates starting pitchers and or relievers are just battling for the NL Cy Young Award together. Like, it's not just going to be Skeensy if some of these guys end up being what they're supposed to be.
Bubba Chandler.
Yep.
Jared Jones.
Yep.
Hunter Barco. And maybe Seth Hernandez if he's a starter. I mean, that's what it comes down to. That 5, granted, 1 lefty and Hunter Barco, but that 5 is kind of gross.
Mitch Keller's in there. Like, they're mean, man.
Yeah. They've got a nice little future for that rotation. The Pirates in general, and we talked about it about, a month or so ago, that Pittsburgh, they could, baseball's better when Pittsburgh's better. I remember saying that myself. When Pittsburgh's a good team, baseball is in a much better position. And in a couple seasons, could we sniff Pittsburgh at least an NLCS appearance? The way they're spending money, the way they're churning out some prospects. Don't forget about Termarr Johnson.
Yep.
Don't forget about, Sammy Staffora is there now. He was part of the Cabrian Hayes trade. He's another shortstop prospect. Johnny Severino's a guy to watch out for. I mean, they got some guys in that minor league system. Buy an outfield bat. Remember, they were third in line for Juan Soto and second in line for Kyle Schwarber. Mm-hmm. They're looking for that big bopper bat they can throw in the outfield. Granted, Schwarber would have been DH, but they're looking for that big bopper bat in the outfield. pair him with that rotation, find a great back-end closer on the cheap, or develop one. Maybe it's Seth Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
And you got yourself a pretty good roster in Pittsburgh.
Just be an average hitting team, and the rest will work itself out. That's honestly all they have to do, and I think NLCS is very much in the picture. I love the guy you have here because he's kind of dealing with, I won't steal anymore, but he's dealing with a lot of different prospects that are playing his position, and he might just hit his way into the lineup.
He just might, and he's going to progress pretty quickly because he is, I want to say, 24 years old.
Yeah.
I think he just turned 24. He was 23 at the beginning of last season, so I think he's 24. Unless it was 22 and 23. But regardless, James Tibbs III, he was an outfielder. He's being converted into a first baseman in the Dodgers system because they have Josue DePaula, because they have Zaire Hope, because they have Eduardo Quintero, Mike Sirota. Like, they have all those guys. James Tibbs is kind of the odd man out, but they don't have that big corner infield prospect. So James Tibbs enters the spotlight. He's got a decent frame. He's not the tallest guy in the world for a first baseman, but he's got size. He's a former first-round pick out of Oregon, and he was, again, fun fact, part of the Rafael Devers trade last year. He was part of 3 different organizations in 1 year last year. He was at San Francisco, he was with Boston, and then he was part of the Dustin May trade with the Red Sox. And I mean, that's just highway robbery. This guy's gonna be so good. I don't think that move is gonna negatively impact his bat at all. He had, in the one spring breakout game he played against the White Sox, a perfect 5,000 OPS. He went 1 for 1. He had 4 plate appearances, 3 walks, one of them with the bases jammed, so he drove in an RBI, and he took one oppo, a 3-run shot, opposite field, 4 RBI on the night against the White Sox in their spring breakout game. I know you guys last week were talking about how you're excited to see Josue DePaula and Zaire Hope and a few other guys in the mix, a couple pitchers too. But James Tibbs stole the show. The kid from Oregon, he stole the show. He's going to be something special, I think. And I don't think he's going to be, I'm not calling him like a Hall of Fame talent or, superstar in the making, but he's a sneaky good prospect. He is a very sneaky good prospect. And I think, like I said, getting James Tibbs, and they got another guy in that trade too. He's a second baseman. I'm blanking on the name right now. I think his name's like Brendan Eckhart or something like that. They got those 2 guys, and he hit like 380 post-trade, the other guy in the trade for Dustin May. They got those 2 guys for Dustin May. I mean, and Dustin May's a Cardinal now, if I'm not mistaken. I think he left Boston. So Boston just gave those 2 guys away. It blows my mind. That blows my mind. James Tibbs, though, to get back on track here, I like James Tibbs. I've been on the Tibbs train since he was moved from San Francisco to Boston. I'm not getting off anytime soon. I think this dude is a guy who potential, especially playing at the hot corner, doesn't have to worry too much about, moving around a ton of the outfield, getting tired. Like, most of his exertion is going to be with the stick. James Tibbs, I think at his peak, this guy's at 260 with 25 homers a year. He's legit.
Yeah, and he doesn't even need to be that for them to win the trade. Good call. May is with the Cardinals right now. Tibbs is only 23 still. So, the guy's got plenty of room to still develop. And considering he's essentially been this minor league journeyman the last couple of years, and he was part of the return package for a guy who's not even in Boston anymore, if he's a 5-year MLB veteran, you won the trade. If he's a 3-year MLB veteran and he gives you average baseball, you won the trade. Based on everything you've said, and the more he pops up on my timeline, I think he could be more. And the tell that you have that a guy could be more is when a team decides to say, look, dude, with Pages coming up, Hope as well, DePaula, we don't have room for you in the outfield. We want you. We want your bat. Let's find a way to make this work and move you. Not in a DH capacity. Let's make you, a bigger guy. Let's make you a corner infield. When a team is looking to find ways to get you into their lineup in the form of, let's just move you around, you're still going to hit the ball the same. That's a pretty good sign. So good call there. That was my game to watch, and I did not mention his name. So hand up there. I was dropping Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, DePaula, Zaire Hope. James Tibbs did not leave my lips, and he made me pay for it.
Yeah, so fact check here on the rest of that Dustin May trade. The other player traded, I thought his name was Brendan Eckard. His name is Zach Earhard. Okay, so
Okay.
I was kind of close on the last name,
Yeah.
not quite with the first name. I'm trying to pull up his stats right here before my phone dies. But I know he torched the baseball post trade. So this Dustin May trade for the Red Sox is just getting worse and worse and worse as we go. But again, they got something good going right now. They just brought in Caleb Durbin.
Mm-hmm.
They have in the outfield Roman Anthony. And they also have Christian Campbell possibly moving to the outfield still. He's a second baseman, can play center. You know, he's a guy kind of like Ketel Marte, where he can do both. Just depends on where you want him the most. So they're in a good spot. Wilyer Abreu, not even to mention Wilyer Abreu's
Their
name yet.
outfield is
So
unreal. Yeah.
Boston's in a good spot, even post trade. It's so funny that, you know, the rich get richer even when they're not spending money.
Yeah, exactly. Boston's had a weird little last like 12 to 18 months. They cashed in on Bregman. That ended up being a rental situation. They're loaded on arms. I'm genuinely curious to see what happens with that 5 spot. Alex Cora went on Baseball Tonight
So much pitching
with Buster Olney, and he literally said, like, we're still trying to figure out who that 5 spot is. It could be Peyton Tolley. It could be a handful of guys out of there. Someone's going to be a AAA.
Mm-hmm.
Connolly Early, Peyton Tolley. Someone's going to be a AAA who would be on probably like 20 rotations right now. So they're in a good spot.
If I'm Boston and I'm not quite set on Peyton Tolley in the rotation yet, let him go to Pawtucket and let him be the number 1 in Pawtucket.
Yeah.
Let him go there and let him work, because he is. I talked about it. I did the Sox Farm feature. He's a Tarek School prototype, is what Peyton Tolley is, and he's a bulldog. He's gonna go get you strikes. He's not gonna throw around you. He's gonna go right after you and say, "Here's 97. Now hit it.
Yeah.
I dare you." Right. So that's who Peyton Tolley is. That's his demeanor. If you don't know where you're gonna put him in the staff yet, then don't put him in the staff, because you have the luxury of having all of those arms. Even post trade with, like, you know, trading Jordan Hicks and David Sandlin to the White Sox and moving other guys around too. You bring in some bats in exchange for arms, like that. Kyle Harrison to the Brewers, who actually, we're talking about rotations. He just made the Brewers rotation. Sidetrack here again. I think Kyle Harrison's going to be amazing this season. With how the Brewers develop pitching, he's going to be amazing. But anyways, back to the Red Sox. If you don't know where you want Peyton Tolley just yet, throw him in AAA and let him eat and let him figure it out. You play him both as a starter and as a reliever. Maybe you go like a 7-day kind of thing with him, right? You go start him as the 1, then you let him sit his normal 5 days rest, and on that 5th day, you throw him as a reliever. And then you let him sit for 2 days, and on that 2nd day, you start him again. So, like, there's a way to mix and match this, and I'm not sure if that would be the best way to do it, but there's ways to do it to where you can really figure out what you have in Peyton Tolley, both as a starter and as a reliever, and go from there.
I want to see what he does with his pitch mix, because he used that fastball like 70% of the time last year, which tells you probably reliever. There's a handful of guys. Freddie fastball one. He used that fastball about half the time for most of his career. But if he starts developing like a secondary, a tertiary, and he can like pinch that down to 45, 50% of the time, well, we'll see on Tolley. But Hernandez and Tibbs the third are your 2 spring breakout standouts. Plenty more where those 2 came from. Before we get to risers and before we go any further, I do want to shout out a company that we are huge fans of here. Sam, I've shouted you out because I know you do beer league softball and you're already a big fan of this product. You were very excited when we made the announcement that we're syncing up with JustBats.com for the start of the spring here. So if you or someone you care about is looking for a bat ahead of the baseball or softball or beer league softball season, this place, they beat your typical store just down the corner, because your typical store just down the corner is not giving you the customized engravings. They're not doing the regrip services, if you're watching us live on YouTube right now, with all the different customizable designs that you can handpick like JustBats.com is. And they're not giving you those customizable knob stickers either, like JustBats.com is. So, yeah, we've met with a few of these guys. Ben has been our main contact. He's a huge baseball fan. They're in Royals country over there. They love baseball just like you and I do. That is the bottom line. We are going to make it super easy for you. If you're in the market for a bat, batting gloves, batting supplies, go to justbats.com through the link in our description and get your new product today. I've almost been overwhelmed by how much they have to offer. Like, I'm probably going to end up getting something. I've got some nephews that are going to be playing youth ball soon, but they've got plenty to offer over there. So check them out in our description below.
Yeah, that's you got me here?
Yeah.
All right, that's going to be a website, a link that I most definitely use here in the next week, probably. Once this next paycheck hits, I might go get myself a nice new softball bat for the year. Yeah, I love playing slow pitch. It's one of my favorite things to do now in the summer. I bowl 9 months of the year, and I play a slow pitch the other 3. So that's a season I'm really looking forward to. Our team just re-registered for our league this year, and those guys all have the link, and they've been looking through the site, and they're going to start buying bats as well. Just Bats, great partner. We thank them for partnering with us this month.
Yeah, they're a huge fan of us, and the feeling is mutual. We're huge fans of them. What's the slow pitch season? Is it May, June, July? April, May, June?
It's May into August.
Okay.
May into August. And there is indoor, too. There is at some places, like, you know, if you're driving through, at least the analogy I come up with is if you're driving through Chicago, you're passing Rosemont, so right by O'Hare Airport, everyone's favorite airport, right? You drive right by Rosemont, you see the Chicago Dog Stadium, and there's one of those big inflatable domes. That's a spot people will play indoor slow pitch.
Really?
There's a few other domes like that in the Chicago area. Yeah. One of my league teammates, actually, for bowling league, he in the winter plays indoor slow pitch softball as well. So that's he's a sub. He doesn't play it regularly, but he's got his own, you know, family. He's got his partner and their kids. So he's playing slow pitch in the summer though too, and that's it's about May to August, even into September if you're playing tournament ball. Tournament ball is usually late season into September.
Okay, those are a lot of fun. The more you know that it could be year-round. I've seen some of those domes before. I've driven by the Dog Stadium, too. I must have seen it at some point where it's like an inflatable or it's set up for recreational activity there. But awesome. Good stuff. Well, good luck in your upcoming season. We'll report back. We'll need, like, weekly updates on how the guys are doing. Awesome.
Of course, yeah, the Barrel Boys. That's the team we're following this year. Waukesha Rec Slow Pitch League in Waukesha, Wisconsin. It's about 45 minutes up the road from me, right up Interstate 43. So it's just a couple quick turns and I'm there.
That's very fun. Good stuff. We're going to head on over to Risers. Just simply put, the stock up of our week. The stock down will be our fallers. We'll round it out with fair or foul with a very intriguing hypothetical related to college baseball. I have 2 risers. One is Chandler Simpson, and not for the reason he would usually be mentioned on this channel, his 80 grade speed when he was on his way up. He hit his first professional out-of-the-park home run, and I have to designate that because he's had an inside-the-park home run in the minor league ranks before. But in the minors and majors, a combined surplus of just over 1,400 at-bats. He's never done this. He's never cleared the fence. He tugged one down the right field line. Umpires actually had to congregate for a bit to make sure it went out in typical Chandler Simpson fashion. He sprinted anyway, and he ended up clearing the wall. So it wasn't spring training, but Mr. Speed has a little pop to him, and then I have Andrew Painter making the opening day roster. I don't think people understand. This could have very easily turned into a sad story. He's a first-round pick, has Tommy John, has almost 2 full years of recovery. In 2020, whatever it was, 3 or 4, that is a little longer than you'd expect, and you always hold your breath. Is the guy still going to have the same zip on his fastball? Is he going to be able to grip the ball as hard as he was able to before? Well, he just made the opening day roster after a spectacular spring, so Andrew Painter and Chandler Simpson are my 2 risers today.
You got big shoes to fill following the departure of Ranger Suarez to the Red Sox, so that's going to be a big role for him to fill in, but I think he'll do pretty good in it. I think he will. You know, there's still a lot of upside with Andrew Painter. My riser, we talked about him early in the show. It's another Andrew. It's Andrew Fisher. Andrew Fisher might be the next big thing in all of baseball. He started for Team Italy in the World Baseball Classic. First at bat, smokes one out in Houston. He finishes the Classic with an 1157 OPS, a 357 batting average, and that home run. He was a key part in Italy's run through the WBC and up against Venezuela, where they ultimately fell in the semifinals, which, again, I know I'm probably late to the party here because it happened last week, but shout out Venezuela, man.
Dude.
I mean, a country that was introduced to baseball fairly recently in terms of baseball's history. Granted, it's been like 40-ish years, but introduced to baseball fairly recently, and now they're on top of the world. They're on top of the world. So shout out to them. They didn't have a very easy road. They're in the same pool as the Dominican Republic, and thankfully they were on opposite sides of them because honestly, it's kind of like a weird triangle here. The U.S. would have beat the DR beat Venezuela, Venezuela beat the U.S. So I think Venezuela is a little lucky that they weren't on the side of the Dominican Republic. The U.S. is lucky that Mason Miller got that strike 3 call. Everyone goes home happy except the United States in the very end. Back to Andrew Fisher, though. Spring training, still batting .333. That's, for those of you keeping score at home, that is 1 hit for every 3 at-bats, which is Hall of Fame if you do that for your whole career. Mm-hmm. He also has a homer. Took one out to right center the other day and has a 1429 OPS to wrap up spring. I don't think he went with Milwaukee to AmFam Field for their exhibition against Cincinnati this week, which that just tells you he's not going to make the opening day roster, but he's a guy that would be a sneaky call-up, especially considering that the Brewers are kind of taking a shot in the dark here with Luis Rengifo starting at third base when he has never played third base before in the major leagues. Andrew Fisher, he's openly stated he tries to model his game after Bryce Harper. He's got the bat speed to back it up, and his swing path just screams launch angle. So as long as he's just an average to above average defender, he might be a Brewer by September, and this is why you gotta trust Matt Arnold in the front office with the things they do, because this is why they moved on from Caleb Durbin so quick. Because Andrew Fisher's ceiling is far higher than Caleb Durbin's ceiling, and their floor is about the same. So that's why they're so quick to move on, because I think that they believe that Andrew Fisher is going to be ready for big league ball come September.
Great call, because it wasn't very long ago that a lot of people in the baseball world in general were going, what are you doing? Monasterio, Siegler, and Durbin. That's your entire third base depth chart.
The whole third base depth.
This kid could be better than all three combined. I think it is nuts in the best way that someone who played just a few weeks in high Wisconsin up there in Appleton with the Timber Rattlers is being talked about like this, and that, are we going to see him this year? It's realistic. If he continues to hit the tar off the baseball, selfishly, I wish the Wisconsin fans up there in Appleton would get to see him. I don't know if they're going to be able to. He'll probably start the season either there for a very short stint or in Biloxi. The way he's been playing, he's got to be in Biloxi. So
I think it's
I
think it's no lower than AA for the start of the season for him, because Brock Wilkins is going to be your AAA third baseman to start the year, unless Brock Wilkins somehow sneakily makes the opening day roster, which I highly doubt it at this point. But Wilkins is going to be your AAA starting third baseman. Fisher will begin the year at AA. I wouldn't be surprised if we moved on from Wilkin, maybe included him in a package for some kind of need, kind of like what we did last year with Quinn Priester, trading Joffrey Rodriguez and a competitive balance pick, which ended up being Marcus Phillips, who's a pretty solid pitching prospect. Again, another pitching prospect with Boston. They got a plethora of pitchers. Ended up being Marcus Phillips, but Joffrey Rodriguez was that move, and Rodriguez was pretty hot to start his minor league career. Didn't do so well to start the season, but the Red Sox took a flyer. Hasn't looked great since the trade. I could see Brock Wilkin being that kind of guy, because his bat profile is like Yasmani Grandal in the sense that he ain't gonna hit the ball a lot, but when he does, it's tally ho, bon voyage, Geronimo, about 578 feet. So that's kind of how Brock Wilkin goes. Some team will take a flyer on that, and we'll end up making a move for another Aaron Savali type guy that's going to plug and play for the rest of the year, because Andrew Fisher is going to be in AAA very fast, and there's not going to be room for the two of them.
You answered my next question. I was like, someone's getting traded here relatively soon, because just to name a few, let's just go under the hypothetical they clean house with the infield, right? Ortiz gets his shot this year. They decide not to go that direction. Terang, who they better extend, doesn't get extended. Vaughn's contract ends, right? All right, clean slate. You have Fisher, you have Adams, you have Wilkin, you have Madej, you have Pratt, and you have Pena. That's not enough, or that's not enough spaces for those 6 guys. So someone's going.
Yeah,
someone's going.
And not not even to mention Josh Adamszewski,
Yep.
not even to mention Blake Burke.
First rounder.
Blake Burke. Not even to mention Eric Batanti, who has been mashing the baseball as well. So there's plenty of guys. They've got a pretty deep farm system. A trade is going to be made, and I think it's going to be, unfortunately, not this year, but next year, you're going to see a big league guy moved. It's the Brewers' bread and butter. They do it every year because they're a turnstile in terms of top-end talent in the minor leagues now. They have been for a couple seasons. It's going to be a big league guy. I still think the first trade they make is moving on from Garrett Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know when that's going to happen now, because I thought it would have been before spring training if they were going to move on from him. But I think that's the first move, and then they worry about the infield, because they really don't have to worry about the infield being jammed up until another year and a half.
Yeah, I almost wonder with the outfield, do they wait for Luis Lara to be ready and then say, Garrett, see you later? Like, thanks for your time. A little too much risk here.
I don't even know if
they wait that long.
That's another jam, though. I don't even know if they can.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they have the room for Luis Lara right now.
Right.
So this is a great problem to have. Now you just need to make sure you trade the right guy.
Yeah.
Which they have a track record of doing that, because Hader Arenamo and Yaffer Rodriguez and they traded Aaron Savali for Vaughn, so that doesn't really count. But Hader Arenamo hasn't turned into much, and at least not yet. And Yaffer Rodriguez hasn't turned into much. And you got Aaron Savali, who turned into Andrew Vaughn, and you got Quinn Priester out of those two deals. So I mean, they have a track record in Milwaukee. They have a track record of trading the right guy. They just have to heat check it here. They have to do it again.
Yeah. It feels like the same cycle where like we check insert projection here. It's happening again. The Brewers are going to win 83 games. No, they're not. Stop it. And then this year it was Caleb Durbin thing happens and everyone goes, or Freddie Peralta, Matt Arnold, what are you doing? Don't question him. They have the number one farm system in baseball, and it is not close. It is not even close.
That hypothetical situation, we didn't even mention Jet Williams.
Jet Williams coming in.
We didn't even mention Jet Williams.
Jack of many
That's
trades.
another guy.
Yep.
So who's getting moved? It's kind of a fun spot to be in. This is where I kind of want to pull out my like out of the park baseball 27 sim and just kind of rifle through it and see what trades I can make personally. I personally haven't been able to make any for Garrett Mitchell quite yet with the CPU, but we're working on it. We are working on it.
There we go. I like it. I think my vote at this point, I think Pratt's the one that gets moved just because I think Medea and Pena, we've talked about this before, have slightly higher ceilings, and Pratt has strictly played up the middle in his career, but we shall see. A lot of fun to be had in Brewerville, and Andrew Fisher is going to be a name that if you didn't know it already, you know it now. Let's go on to Fallers, and I'm going to go to Florida. Florida baseball. Cedric Granger, who's one of our 6 teammates here with Minor League Minute. Florida baseball has had an awful week, and Cedric pointed it out to me. Alabama no-hit this team. Now, Alabama is the house of Justin LeBron, who's likely a top 2 pick, maybe top 2 not to. I don't know. Brock Chalowski's going to make that a pretty tough decision. But Alabama itself is not a great baseball program this year. They're not highly ranked in the SEC. They're not ranked at all. Florida is. They're 18th at the time of this matchup. Alabama no-hits them to win game 1 of their series 6-0. Again, Justin LeBron's having a remarkable year. And then just yesterday, when they're on the verge of getting swept, I see they've given up 9 walks, and there's still outs to be recorded. I mean, I've talked about Liam Peterson. I still think he's a high-end first-rounder. Florida is falling apart at the seams right now. So hopefully the Gators figure it out. They certainly have time to. But they are way too often giving up like 6+ runs to teams they shouldn't be. And then all of a sudden, the bats that come from the same pipeline that Jack Caglione was in not long ago just go silent against, again, a team in Alabama that we're not talking about on the road to Omaha. So maybe I need to respect Crimson Tide baseball more, but that was a rough week for the Gators.
It's a little rough, and just the Gators in general. I mean, the other night, too, with Iowa.
Basketball.
They're on a really rough run, that athletic program right now. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned they have a long track record of putting together some really good lineups. I mean, keeps going further back. Jonathan India, Nolan Shonwell. You even got Pete Alonso if you want to go far back enough, right? So Florida is what we probably consider to be at least turning into a blue blood of college baseball. So it is kind of, for lack of a better term, shameful that an SEC rival was able to no-hit them, especially an unranked SEC rival.
Yeah.
Speaking of unranked, Ethan Salas is no longer in the top 100. I feel like we've been kind of moving past that a little bit. So that's my faller, and it's not like a steep fall off. We're talking about stock up, stock down. This isn't like a big drop in stock here on Ethan Salas because he still is the Padres number 2, behind what's his face. I'm forgetting the name right now. But he's still the Padres number 2.
Schoolcraft,
and
the big lefty.
Yes, yes, Schoolcraft. Salas is formerly the top prospect in the 2023 international class, and now he can't stay healthy. And when he does play, he's not as advertised. And the rankings are starting to pick up on that, which is why he was left off the top 100. And personally, if you ask me, I'd rank a guy like Andrew Fisher in front of him right now, even though Ethan Salas is still, 18 years old, and Fisher's 22. He played all 4 years of college, played at Duke, played at Tennessee, played 4 years in the college ranks, and Fisher's got about 3-4 years of age on him. I'd still put him as a more high-ceiling prospect than Ethan Salas. He's never been known to be a great hitter, which is fine for a catcher, especially when you're marketed with a 70-plus arm and 70-plus fielding. But you have an OPS hovering around 570 in your last 120 games, which span across his season in 24 and his 10 games he was able to stay on the field for in 2025. Still a career 988 fielding percentage behind the dish, which is good to great. And he's got the arm. He's going to catch you stealing. Like, not even some of the quickest guys in the minors can steal on Ethan Salas. But he's got to stay healthy. And until we can see that he's going to stay healthy and get you minimum 120 games in one season, I'm not buying the Ethan Salas stock anymore.
Yeah, I was going to be shocked because I saw he's 19 until June. It's weird to see someone have a down year considering he was the top, or you said it, right? The top of an international signing class that was pretty loaded that year. They signed him at an overslot of over $1 million. I would be shocked to see a 19-year-old get dropped off the list if not for the injuries. I think there's still faith out there that the 19-year-old figures out how to square up a baseball and just be an average hitter, because I do think the defensive end of it, while it's kind of becoming a lost art, especially with ABS, at least it's only a challenge system right now, looming, that's another thing. We were talking about this last week after the horrible Mason Miller strike 3 call on Perdomo, I believe it was. If we went full ABS at any point, like no challenge system, it's just robo-ump 100% of the time, the Ethan Salases of the world are screwed. So hopefully that never happens, because his bread and butter is framing. It's commanding the plate. It's stretching the strike zone. So there's still value for that. But yeah, to your point, Sam, like he's coming off a year where I believe I saw it here. Yeah, 9 games and then a right knee sprain ended his season. And he's had different types of injuries. It's not just like the knee's been nagging him. I get a little worried, and I'm not at this point yet, but you look at their top prospects, Ty Harvey, he's an ETA 2029. There's a couple other backstops kind of waiting in the wings right now. Trout Madonna's a couple levels below too. At what point is it their turn? Like, the guy is luckily still only 19, but I think when you have someone who's struggling to hit an OPS in the 500s and he just can't stay on the field, I think the Pirates, who don't have a good farm system in general right now, their patience is going to get tested pretty quick.
Padres with Ethan Salas.
Oh, who did I say? Giants?
Pirates. You said Pirates.
Pirates. Definitely.
A lot of Konnor Griffin talk today.
Yeah.
A lot of Konnor Griffin talk today. I don't
Padres. The Friars.
Yeah. The Friars. There we go. We're mixing it up. Ethan Salas at some point, he's gonna figure it out with the stick. He is so young. He will get around to it. But it's looking bleak right now. I'll just wrap it up with that. It is looking bleak.
Yeah, it's tough. Their farm system's kind of recovering. Crew Schoolcraft's going to be a fun one. I'm kind of glad he got put up in the list because the intangibles are nasty. He's basically a basketball player on the mound, but you need Ethan Salas to be your catcher of the future. That is what you paid that money for in that international pool. That money needed to go to someone The Padres have been, almost said Pirates again, historically aggressive when it comes to going in on guys like that. They did it with DeVries before they traded him. So you need that to hit, especially considering DeVries, who you spent a chunk of money on, is not on the team anymore as well. All right, we wrap it up with a quick segment called Fair or Foul, where we're just going to bring something up and debate whether or not this is a good idea. And in the midst of March Madness, which has gotten a lot more mad in the last 24, 48 hours, shout out Iowa, Florida, among others, Texas going on a bit of a run too. I started thinking the road to Omaha, it's something, Sam and I are big fans of, the minor league minute team in general is, and the baseball community embraces. What if instead of the regional sectional structure where teams are going best of 3, series style, which you do see in pro ball, what if we did 64 teams? And then to make up for the fact that you'd be playing a whole chunk of games, it's one and done. Where are you at on that, Sam, where we're kind of removing the nature of baseball series? That's usually what it's structured as. But all of a sudden, you get the sudden death structure where if a Fairfield comes stomping
in bracket-style tournament like this, in which they kind of do this already a little bit, but it's like you said, it's, regional, sectional, and they split them into like 16 different 14 brackets. But when you look at March Madness on a grand scale, it kind of is that already. Just a little bit. It is, when you really split it down, you get 16, 14 brackets, and eventually you get down to your Final Four, or your Elite Eight, excuse me. So like you get down to that. When you get down to business like that, I mean, it's kind of similar already. But I agree with the whole sudden death. Mm-hmm. One game and that's it. You better be on your A game. That you get one chance. And my question though then is, how would we give up, or in terms of scheduling this, how would we want to schedule something like that with a single elimination? Because I feel like teams would want to know how many days they have in between. Because are they just going to start their ace every single game? Or are they going to have to really go through their 3 or 4 man rotations?
Right. So I think similar to that of March Madness with basketball, in your little 4-team pods, I'm good with still having 16 of those and doing the regionals, and you still get rewarded for having a good season. That's a quick turnaround. There's 2 games in 24 hours. So you could play your ace every other game if you want, but you need to have depth, and you need to know if your number 2 gets shelled, who's going to go in there. That at least prevents, and again, I would love a mid-major to go on a Cinderella run, but let's say a non-mid-major, let's say a juggernaut like a Florida, if they come back, or a Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers.
LSU.
Yeah, LSU. That prevents them from just spamming their guy. I don't think that would make this fun at all, but I think in this format, if you force a team to go back-to-back days in their regional, and then in their super regional, and then in their sectional to the end, now you still get the nature of learning what a team's rotation looks like, and you get rewarded for having that depth, but you also get the chance for a Fairfield to go on a run, or a Wright State to go on a little run. So, a good question. I think you force them to play back-to-backs. Otherwise, we're just going to get absolutely bullied by LSU's ace every year.
Yeah. I agree. That would be how I would schedule it too. But then the question too is with travel times, like how closely grouped are you going to keep? Like, because with March Madness, you have, what is it? They do 16 to 18 different locations. Like you have Dayton, and then you have like 15, 16 different locations. Mm-hmm. I feel like scheduling this though, you'd have to be kind of close by for all the different spots. Like, obviously, we could still have the glory that is Omaha be the location for the Final Four and the College World Series. But for all the other events, I feel like you kind of have to be a little more region-specific when it comes to this. Instead of, like, college basketball, geography be damned, let's have Wisconsin and High Point, a team that's in the East Coast part of the country, go play a game in Portland, Oregon. Yeah. Right? Like, that's... Why not, right? And they're in the East region, so that that just kind of throws me off a little bit in that perspective. So I feel like for baseball, you'd have to kind of keep it a little closer so that you could afford to do back-to-backs. Mm-hmm. That way you could afford to do that, and then scheduling conflicts don't become as big of an issue, and then you don't switch locations and you don't really have an off day until you get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Right. So like you have your back-to-back in 2, and then you have an off day to travel to the 16 and the 8, and then you have an off day to travel to Omaha. So this whole tournament could be done in a week.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to have it finish in a week, or do you want to draw it out a little bit?
Yeah, maybe
that becomes another question too.
Right.
Maybe instead of doing single elimination, if you want to draw it out a bit, maybe you still do. Maybe you do 2 games, and total runs will advance you. That I don't know if that's the greatest idea, but that's
is that
just
Premier League?
Throwing out a thought.
There's a soccer league out there that does that currently, where you could lose the first game.
I think so.
It's Premier League, I think. You lose 2-1, but if you come back and win 3-1, you've won the series.
I want to say it's Premier.
Yeah, I have a buddy who's a fan of the Premier League, and
exactly, yeah. So I think that would be some way to maybe throw this together, is to do 2 game sets, so you can't draw it out a little further, and then you still do back-to-backs. You do 2, then a day, 2, then a day, but you draw it out just a little bit more, and then the College World Series, I think you still do best of 3, winner take all. Yeah. I think that like the final championship match between your, I don't know, let's just say, let's have a fun World Series matchup, and it's UW Milwaukee versus Fairfield.
I knew you were going to do that.
In the championship. They got to play a best of 3 for that one. They do have to play best of 3. But this whole tournament style, what I would like to see for teams is you have your 33 conference champions, auto bid. Don't matter seeding. Seeding don't matter right now. You have your 33 teams that are your conference champions, plus the next best 31 teams at large, which would have to include all of your top 25.
Mm-hmm.
If Dallas Baptist somehow they're ranked 25th and they went 500 in their conference for whatever reason, which they went 500 in their conference, I'd hope they don't make the tournament. Right. But if they went 500 in their conference and they're still 25th, I don't care if, let's say, Akron, if they have a baseball team still, went 15-2 in their, I'm just pulling numbers out here, right? I don't care if they went 15-2 in the MAC, if they're not ranked, and Dallas Baptist is, because they had wins over number 3 LSU and number 8 Florida and number 12 Tennessee, Dallas Baptist is getting the auto bid. They're getting the bid because they're in the top 25. They're automatically in, even if they didn't win their conference. So I'd like that. And then it kind of avoids the, does Miami, Ohio get a bid even though they lost their tournament? That it kind of negates that.
Yeah.
It kind of negates that, because that's baloney. I mean, that's, if I can air out my cause here and kind of stand on my soapbox, that's baloney that you're going to tell a team that they're going to get punished for having a perfect season that happened to get ended short in their conference tournament because they got upset by the 8th seed in their conference. You don't punish a team for that. And then they're 1-1 in quad ones. That answers the question right there. They're 1-1 in quad 1 games. They won a quad 1 game to get to the round of 64. We can't get past that, right? So this whole tournament where you include all of the top 25, regardless of context, if they're in the top 25 and they finish the season in the top 25, they're in the College World Series bracket.
Yeah, I'm glad you circled around to include the wonderful Redhawks of Miami, Ohio, because, if I believe they were 22nd or 23rd on the AP poll, why is there even a debate? Mm-hmm. This is a 64-team tournament. There's more than 25 at-larges.
The masses in journalism agreed that Miami, Ohio was a top 25 team in all of the land prior to Selection Sunday. And you mean to tell me that the selection committee was not going to give them a bid? I mean, that's just humorous.
And they first forward him. They made him play an extra game, which I had a feeling they were going to do. I think that was their way of saying, we don't want to tick off the people who love the Blue Bloods so much that they can't fathom Miami, Ohio being in their wonderful bracket. We also want to give Miami, Ohio their flowers. Congrats! You made the top 68, not the top 64. And then they still won, and they shot the lights out in that game. So it worked out. I'm not a fan of how it was handled. But
it ended up being like, it ended up being them saying, because, those play-ins for the 11 seeds, and sometimes they're like the 12 or sometimes they're the 10, depending on how all the mid-majors perform, right? Those play-ins for those seeds are telling the high major, the Power Five and the Group of Five, because in basketball you still have a Power Five, right? Even with the Pac-12 not being in existence till next year, you have the Big East. That's the Power 5
Mhm.
They're telling those teams like, "Hey, you are the worst four of the Power Five teams we want to give a bid to. You got to prove your way in.
Mhm.
You got to prove your way in." And then they do the same thing for the worst four conference champions in the mid majors and the low majors. So I understand why they did that, because Miami played a really weak schedule this year. Not their fault, because teams would not schedule them.
Mhm.
Not their fault, but they did play a really weak schedule in terms of strength of schedule, and they won them all. And they had a bunch of very close games when you look back at their schedule, including the one they lost to UMass. But I feel like 31-0 in the regular season should get you in the field of 64. You shouldn't have to win your way in, regardless of how you feel about Miami's strength of schedule. They shouldn't have had to earn their way in.
Yeah, there's high majors who could have had that exact same schedule. We all have off nights who would lose one or two of those games. And they'd admit it. Like Tennessee's coach came out after and said,
Wisconsin.
Yep.
Yep. Wisconsin loses games to Oregon, who didn't even make the Big Ten tournament
Indiana
this year. Not every team.
Yeah.
They lost to some really weak opponents, but they also beat Arizona, and they also beat Michigan, and they almost beat Michigan again in the conference tournament.
Purdue.
I mean, Wisconsin's the prime example of that. High major teams can have off nights. They can lose to teams that they should beat by like 30. Penn State at one point was giving Wisconsin a hard time in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a shoo-in 5 seed. They were a shoo-in. If they would have won the tournament, if they would have maybe not even win the conference tournament, if they would have beat Michigan, they would have been a 4.
Oh, yeah.
They would have just swapped them in Arkansas like that, lickety split. But Miami can't get in. They won 31 straight games and they can't get in. We went off on that tangent, but I just had to get on my soapbox there.
No.
The people had to hear.
I'm with you.
I had to give the people what they wanted.
I'm with you, and just to circle that back, that's why I'm a firm advocate too. If we're creating this hypothetical of restructuring the NCAA baseball tournament into something that people might feel more inclined to fill out brackets with, because you could have more upsets, top 25 get in, no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah.
If they're an at-large, like in our world, that's what we're doing. 100%.
Here's a fun question before you take us home here, Cory. Do you think it'd be harder to fill out an NCAA, let's just call it May Madness or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it May Madness. Do you think it'd be harder to fill out a May Madness baseball bracket or a March Madness basketball bracket? And considering today's game, considering the environment of college sports today, what would be more difficult? I have my answer.
Yeah, I'll say baseball. I think there's more parity in baseball at this point. When NIL first came out, I thought there'd be more parity in college basketball. You notice for the second straight year, it's very chalky. No, because it turned into a bidding war. At first, I thought guys would go home to their local mid-majors, sign an endorsement with Gatorade, how it's supposed to be. That's a whole other conversation. But with baseball, kind of the conversation we had before, if a mid-major has an ace, I think you're able to push your way through a little more. That, among a few other reasons, that I think baseball's got a little more parity. So I think baseball's way, way more difficult to get a perfect bracket. Yeah.
That's my answer. That was also my answer. It's just, especially considering, like you said, that mid-major and low-major teams might have that guy who just came out of JUCO and is being very underlooked, but he's shoving 98 with regularity, and he can go 130 pitches, still throwing 98 miles an hour. And that guy goes and plays for Marist.
Yep.
Or he goes and plays for Mercyhurst or Houston Christian. I mean, like they could go play for some of those really low major schools, and if they make the bracket and that guy in a single elimination, Martians had the death beam pointed at the earth, and they go with that guy to start, you might be cooked, Florida.
Yeah.
You might lose to UT Martin in the first round, Florida. So that's what it comes down to. I think that's like you said, and I'm going to say it here too. I think it would be much more difficult to fill out a baseball bracket than a basketball one.
Oh yeah, someone just went like 41-0 on the ESPN bracket for basketball. Like they went far. So I don't think that happens in baseball.
Impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah.
My brackets are all terrible this year.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
all so bad. Florida losing and Wisconsin losing more specifically, because I wasn't buying the high point train. I was not buying it, and I was very wrong. You talk yourself into it, and then you have that little just gut feeling, and they're like, this is not the right. Like your sixth sense picks up on it. You're like, this is not the right pick, is it? Proceeds to put Wisconsin in 90% of my brackets, right? So like that's. I was not trying to fall for the high point train again this year, and they proved me wrong.
I, before we wrap it up, did the same exact thing that I did this year, that you did this year, 2 years ago against James Madison. I was like, I don't care if it's a 5-12. They're not. Nope. 5 minutes in, that game was over.
The Tyler Wall disaster class.
Yep.
The Tyler Wall disaster class of a game. Somehow he's still playing over in Spain's second league, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but he is. Yeah, Wisconsin is now, fun fact, 1-6 all time as a 5 seed in the March Madness tournament. 1-6. I should have known. I should have known. We should have known. It's like clockwork.
Yep. Yeah. They didn't lose in the baseball tournament this year, or they won't. I guarantee that. They'll be good.
No, they won't.
No
I put the house on it.
No one's upsetting us there.
Yeah. A whole nother conversation for another day, but I feel like that game is cause for possibly removing Greg Gard? Question mark?
I don't think so.
That's another story.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. That'll be on the
day.
bonus episode. But we do appreciate you all for joining us. Again, you can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, in the live chat section of our YouTube channel. You can always interact with us there as well. We've got our social media links linked below. If you have any questions or any topics you want us to bring up, we go live every Monday night, as we will a week from now. That's Sam. I'm Cory. We will see you in a week. Every story starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars,
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game.